So if I get right in front of the camera here, we're going to make up this glaze. This is a glaze that we've tested before. So we've got our sheet, our ingredients, our tub, our water. So we've labelled our glaze so that we know what we've got. And we're just going to do that. So something totally different today. And then we're going to go on to, Aiden's going to do a wheel demonstration on the wheel throwing, on centering. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are we all good?
Yeah.
All good, so that's the chat there.
So hi everyone that's joining. Clay Wheel Junkie, Paddy Burke Pottery.
Today, Clay Wheel Junkie, Paddy Burke, is it?
Yes, there's so many, I can't read them all out.
So
Lots
to
of
get-
people joining.
So to get this shot in, I need to, we can't really stand behind the camera that well, but anyway, so we'll do the best we can.
Any
So-
questions you do have, feel free to comment below because we're watching it on another iPad.
So we read the comments, we'll read them out.
Okay, so anyway, so I did a course, I've done quite a number of courses, but this latest course, last two courses with Matt Katz and understanding glazes and advancing glazes. And this is one of the glazes that we made. And it's a beautiful bluey green, bluey grey, and it breaks brown from the manganese on the corners. So I'm going to test this one again because in the original glaze we had calcite. Now calcite on the glaze calculation softwares, there's two of them on there. There's a calcite Omar 10 and there's a calcite Omar 10 AU, an Australian product, but they both have different chemistries. Now the right chemistry is not the one with the AU, 10 AU, that's the wrong chemistry. That's actually got 99% CaO, which is calcium, and that's way too much. That's incorrect. So the right one, if you're going on the glaze chemistry, on the glaze calculator, is calcite Omar 10 sub whiting, and that's at 56% of calcium in that ingredient, and that is the correct substitution for whiting using calcite. So the reason why we're doing the test again is because the original test I done is with the calcite, and that's going to put the whole thing out. And so we're testing to make sure that we get it right. So we're going to go ahead. So basically, we want to weigh up our water first, and we zero the scale, and we want 100 grams of water. This is for a test only, so it's not for batches, basically, just a bigger one. So we'll put in 100 grams. You boys, if you want to just ask me some questions or whatever, we're doing this to make it a bit more interesting.
Thanks, Emily, for the rose.
All right, so that's 100 grams.
You got to measure out all your material. That's very important.
That's right, so 100 grams of water. Now, we tick that off, so that's on our sheet. And then the first ingredients we're going to put in is EPK. So we want 20.71 grams of EPK.
And we wear your mask.
Yes.
Why
This,
do we put the PK in first?
well, I mean, it's 6.5 dozen the other. I used to do the EPK first, so that it suspends the materials. But if you actually mix as you go along, you don't really need to do that. So I'm going to put my mask on.
It's important to keep the dust from breathing in the dust.
That's right. And so we'll go ahead there. So we've got 20.7 grams of. We'll put our little measuring thing on there.
What that is saying with his mask on.
Right. So we want 20.71.
Thank you all the pottery people for joining us. There's tons of studios online having a look at what we're doing.
Hello to everyone on TikTok.
So what you do is you just sort of get that up. So it's 20.7, and that's pretty close. If you've got any questions, just feel free to answer, to ask. So then we tick that off, that's the first one in.
And you put in the exact amount, you measure it and put in the exact amount so that you can get repeatability when you do find a glaze that works. Otherwise, if you just put in a bit of this and a pinch of that, you don't really know what you're doing in terms of doing it again.
So the first thing I do there is just give that a bit of a swirl. And these buckets are fantastic for making up little glazes because you can really get the actual ingredients mixed in the water. And this will go a long way to actually stopping the glaze from hard panning straight away.
And they're 1 kilo, well, 1 kilo, sorry, 1 kilo.
And where do we get
1,000 mils, just $2 shop, little screw top lid ones.
So the next ingredient we're going to put in is mince bar, which is a sodium feldspar. So we'll put that lid on there, we'll chuck that there, and we'll get the feldspar out. Make sure you check your ingredients too to make sure you got the right one.
Make sure your utensils are clean, isn't that right?
That's right, yep. So 21.13.
And you make sure your utensils are clean so that you don't get any cross-contamination between your materials.
What size is your scales that you're using?
Well, this one's a...
It's up to 3 kilos, isn't it?
no, it's an O. Harris one. I think it goes up to... what's it say here? So that's...
Doesn't say, but it's not a
21.
huge amount of weight because it's quite precise. So the more precise your scales go, the less weight it does in terms of, unless you want to spend a lot of money. So this one does 0.0, and it's been like weighted and given a certificate to say that it is the weight which it displays. So
we pop that one in, and we'll give that one a stir as well. I just find it easier to do this each time I put an ingredient, and that just keeps it suspended in the little bucket.
Still got pottery people joining us and ceramic people. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, and who are they?
Black Ceramics and Ingleside Pottery.
Ingleside Pottery, Black
Yeah.
Ceramics, thanks for joining us.
Yes,
Yeah.
welcome.
Lily Ceramics.
So that's the soda done. And now we've got the silica. We're making this glaze,
White Badge Pottery.
this particular glaze
Pottery
here.
bean.
That's the one we're making, so anyone who's just joined us, have a look. So the next one we'll do is we'll zero to scale again. A bit hot today.
yes, it's at 32, not as hot as a couple of days ago.
You wipe your little scoop. Now we've got flint. Make sure you're putting the flint in. All right, so it's 20. 20.03.
And a good thing you can do when you are making your glaze test is to separate your big bags of materials into small little buckets like we have here.
Yes.
And that means when you're doing a lot of glaze tests in sequence, you can quickly mix up glaze tests using your materials. You don't have to get the big buckets out or the big bags.
That's right, so that's 20.03, so we've got 20.03 there. So we can tick that off, that is flint, and we put the flint in.
And you tick it off to make sure that all your ingredients have gone in.
Yeah, we'll get a bit of a system going here, we'll get a bit quicker at it.
Light at Clay on
where's that
Wheel.
silica thing?
Marcus Fisher, thank you for joining us, everybody.
Pop that in there out the way. We get the frit out. This is 3134 frit. And we want 16.91. So we'll just wipe that again.
And your frit, is that an alkaline or a...
So your frit basically brings a calcium
Yeah.
calcium frit, brings the boron in. 16.9 we want.
Is it a metal or an earth?
No, it's
Or it's neither?
well, I'll just get this calculation right. Any of you boys know about what it is?
Well, it's a frit, so it's actually a glaze. I should know that.
That's right.
Here I am asking if it's a metal. It's not a metal. It's already a glaze. It's been crushed up.
And what's the mask you're wearing?
N95 masks is what we're wearing. We just get the ones from the chemist. You can get them in packs, and they're good because they fit around your face well.
You can get it from the hardware store, can't you?
Yeah,
That's
hardware
16.9, which is right. And that's 3134, which I've got. Let me just check that again to make sure. Yeah, that's close enough. That's pretty good. So then we'll put that in there. Give that a bit of a stir in as well. So the frit is made up of, so it's a calcium borate frit. So you've got calcium in it, silica, alumina, and you've also got boron. So for a cone 6 glaze, you need boron. That brings the temperature of your feldspars down, and actually starts to melt. And so you need that. Well, it doesn't actually start to melt, but anyway.
It lowers the melting temperature, doesn't it?
Well, it's a glass form and a lot of things. I won't get too technical about it because I'll lose me way. I can't concentrate on making up a glaze and explaining it at the same time. I'm not that good. In fact, I'm just struggling away here. But
Hi,
anyway,
Carberry Clay, Gracious Rodriguez. Thanks for joining us.
the number one thing is that you need frit for a cone 6. If you don't have frit, you've got to have some sort of like a Bristol glaze. So that that's using zinc and calcium. Well, calcium's one of them. So there you go. So the next ingredient we're going to put in is whiting, which is 14.16. That's what we want. And we're getting close to get to the end of this. And that's all you'd have to do to make up a glaze test, is to do that. So 14.16.
And if you use the same weights and the same material and glaze firing, you should get the same result, shouldn't you? Every time. Unless, of course, your clay body changes. Your clay body does affect your glazes.
And you make up this size because it's the best one size to do a test, is that right?
That's right. So there's the 14.16. So that's whiting or calcite. We explained that earlier on before that. It's kind of fraction over, so we might just take a bit of that out.
And you do use a bay mix to mix it all in after all ingredients are in it, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah. So initially you can just simply give it a swish inside the container just to get the
This
contents wet.
scale's going all over the place today, maybe because it's so hot. Yeah, that'll do.
And once you've got all your materials in, you can then grab your bay mix and give it a good stir.
Yep, now we use a few different things. In this particular pot I use a paint scraper, a little paint stirrer, this one.
Before you put that in there, just because there's something on that, because it dropped on the ground.
Oh, yeah. So we use that, that just fits in there nicely with the drill, and I usually come along and I'll just put that over the top. No, I don't need that. With the drill, and I just go like that, and that stops it from splashing all over the place.
Hi, Ceramica Botanica and Pink Willow, thanks for joining us. Anyone got any questions, just put them through and we'll try and answer them for you.
So the whiting's in, the frit's in. Okay, so now we get to the rutile. Now this has got 5.28% rutile. So we'll...
And rutile helps with variegation, doesn't it?
Oh, it's got a lot of different functions.
What is it functioning in this particular glaze?
I'd have to think about it. You're asking too many questions. As I said, I can't concentrate on getting the right measurements because this is actually a glaze that I'm making, a test glaze, so I actually want to do it right. So it's 5.28.
And you put all your ingredients away as soon as you've got out how much you want, so you don't mix anything up. And if it's a really hard recipe, Jim even photographs his weights to make sure they're correct.
Alright, so that's the rutile in. Now I'll pop that in and we'll just give that a bit of a shake around. So 5.2, 5.28, yeah, that's pretty close. Pop that in.
And when you are doing a glaze test, do it in lots of 100, so that's easier for you to work out your percentages when you're doing a test.
That's right. And 100 grams dry weight is enough. You'll get quite a few test holes out of it. So that size test hole, you'll get, you know, a dozen out
Hi,
of it.
Mahaka
No problem.
River Pottery, thanks for joining us in New Zealand.
Yeah, whereas if you
Mr.
got
Maybe
a,
not so much. Maybe not so. Who was that again?
Mahaka River Pottery, New Zealand.
New Zealand.
Yes.
Mahaka River.
Yes. And Miss Delta Mud, thanks for joining us, everybody.
Miss
Delta Mud.
Miss Delta Mud. Welcome. We're making up a glaze today, so
and then we'll do some wheel throwing as well after this.
so what we've done is this is a glaze that I made up during a course, and I'm just revisiting that. But we've had to change some things around because the original one had calcite and we're using whiting, and the calculation on the calcite is different than the whiting on one of the calculations. So I won't explain that totally, but you can always go into the recap of the video and find out what we were talking about. But we're basically making this glaze up again so that we can, I love the way it's a bluey grey. And on the white clay you can see the manganese come out with the brown on the edges of the tile where it's thin. So it's a nice little glaze to make up. Alright, so the rutile's in, so the next one is cobalt. So we've got 2 more ingredients to go in, and this glaze is done. That's all it is. So it's not very hard to make these up.
Hi,
And
Jane Huber and Janice, thanks for joining us.
you get into a routine of doing it. As you can see, I'm doing a lot of testing at the moment.
And who'd think this is copper, eh? It looks pretty pink to me.
Cobalt.
Cobalt, sorry.
Cobalt.
Doesn't look blue at all, it looks pink.
That's right. So don't be fooled of the colour of your ingredients.
No.
This scale is going off tap today. It's going fluctuating around. All right, so the next one is cobalt. So we want 0.59. So not a lot of cobalt. I'm going to take my mask off because we're nearly finished anyway. So 0.59, it's only just a small amount. Actually, it's a very small amount.
Hi, Fate Easy and
Wow.
Dale K Ceramics, thanks for joining us.
It's like a little sprinkle.
That's all it is. All right, so that's pretty close. 0.6, 0.59, that'll do. So we'll pop that bit of cobalt in. And we'll pop that back in there. That's the cobalt done. And the last one is manganese. Now, I'm going to definitely put my mask on for manganese.
Hi, Dalek Ceramics, thanks for joining us.
It's a safe material to use. And what have we got here? It's 1.18. So with all these ingredients, the main thing is that you use your mask at all times so that you're not breathing in this small dust particles and so on. And with manganese, I always make sure I've got my mask on.
Hi, Sandon and Fuss Pot, thanks for joining us.
So we only need about 1.18. And that's about it. That's pretty good. That's pretty close. Okay,
And
so
also, one more thing I would just say,
Yep.
if you find that your materials you're adding in are really small amounts, just increase your batch size until you get to a measurable amount. So,
that's probably not, if you're doing 100 grams, that's not a good thing to do.
no?
No. So what you do is you basically have got to have a scale that can measure small amounts of material.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Right.
so- Okay, so that's that glaze made. And all we do is stir it up like that. As you can see, the manganese is colouring that nicely. We've got a small amount of cobalt, rutile. We've got EPK mince bar or sodium feldspar. We've got flint. We've got our boron source, which is our flux, our frit, and we've also got whiting, our calcium source in there. So what we do now is leave that for 3 days to slake. All these other little test pots here, and there's quite a few of them all over the place, these have all been slaked, they've all been dated, so I know how long they've actually been cooking for. And I come back after 3 days, I get my drill out, and you just high speed mix it, make sure it doesn't splosh everywhere. Then once I've done that, I pour the mixture into a little cup. I'll pop it into a cup. I get my tile, and this is 4 seconds. I dip everything in 4 seconds for these particular tests. And I come in and I just pop it in for 4 seconds. So I go 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, and out we go. And that's it.
And why is it you let it slake?
Just to make sure that, because your water content will change, some materials absorb more water than others, and so after about 3 days, it's pretty well, your glaze is thinned out as much as it will, and so then you can have a look to see if there's too much water or too less water and so on, and go from there. But I use 100 grams of water to start with for these particular glazes. That's my little sheet, and so there we are. Now we'll put the lid back on. I'll write on here, but we made it up today. I'll pop it in the pile.
Hi Joe, thanks for joining us.
Hi Joe, and then I'll pop another one out to actually mix up and dip a tile, which if we've got time, we'll do that after Aidan does his little real demonstration. So I hope that's helped out a little bit in regards to how easy glaze testing can be. Just got to have your materials. You just got to be organised. You've got to be fairly anal with how you measure things. I might have been a little bit quick today, but that doesn't matter. You know, 0.01 or 2 or whatever of a gram difference is not going to make a huge difference anyway. And you're going to get a fair idea as soon as that is tested and comes out in the kiln. So,
Hi Dawn Weller Ceramics, thanks for joining us.
so yeah, so that's it. So I'm finished. So that's a glaze test done. That's how simple it is to make up your own glazes.
Just
Recipe.
run through once more the ingredients you put in, Jim.
Yep, no problem. So we've got EPK in this one, and we've got, it's 20.71%. We've got mince bar, which is 21.13%. We've got flint, which is 20.03%. We've got the frit 3134, which is 16.91%. We've got whiting, which is 14.16. So, 14.16%. Then we go on to the rutile, which is 5.28%. We've also got cobalt, which is 0.59%. And we've got manganese dioxide, which is 1.18%. Right? With 100% water, mixed in, glaze made, slake for 3 days, high speed mix it, make sure it's homogenised and it's properly mixed. It's very important. Sometimes I'll even use that, and I'll go in the bottom and scrape around the bottom scrape down the sides, and then high speed mix it. Slosh it around.
Joe said, is that Aussie bush?
No, no, it's not Aussie bush. This is blue gum. This is a new one we're doing.
Blue gum.
Blue gum. So that's a new one. And once you've done that, pop it into a little cup. These are easily washed out, so you can recycle them and keep going with it. Pile in for 4
Joe
seconds.
said, very nice, the blue gum.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, Joe. Pop that in, pull it out, and then basically fire it in your glaze kiln. So there you go. So I'm finished for now. If we get time, we'll come back. I'll get one of these recent ones out that have been going for at least 3 days slaking, and I'll mix that up and show you how that's mixed up and dip a tile.
And slaking is just resting the glaze for a couple of days and allowing all the materials to mix in with each other, isn't it?
That's right. So you get different materials will absorb water easier than others, and so on. They require more water or less water. So after 3 days, it's pretty much done, and your glaze will probably get a little bit thinner. It might be thick at the start, and then it'll thin out towards that 3 days. And so you might think, well, if I make it up and dip it, wow, that's too thick. You add water to it, and then a couple of days later, it actually thins out a bit. You've actually got too much water in your glaze, which you can compensate for with a longer dip. But I mean, this is so if you slake, and I think it's the same with most things you make, that if you actually allow it to homogenise and allow the water to travel around and get in between the particles and blah 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 blah, and off we go. So there you go.
Well,
Hope you enjoyed that.
Pink Willow said it's a lovely colour.
It is. It is a lovely colour. So you probably can't see all the glaze tests at the back there, but that's one of the courses that I've done right up on that yellow section. There's a whole lot of different glazes, and on the other side of that, where the black bin is, do you want to move that black bin, mate? Yeah. There's a whole lot of other glazes that we want to be developing as well. So yeah, no, we've got no shortage of colours to develop.
And now we're going to watch Aiden do a throw on the wheel.
That's right.
So yeah, there's boards on the back wall that are just full of test tiles that we've done. So
That's right.
there's been a lot of tests.
We've done a lot of tests. And also, as you can see here, there's a lot more tests here that we're actually working with. So we just made up a Nuka glaze the other day. You want to get that tile for me?
Yeah, front.
By the Cannon Spot Shop. If they know Aiden, he does photography, but he's about to throw a pot on the wheel if you want to see him do something different.
Yes. Oh, here it is here. All I had to do was look for the black one with the ash in it.
Pink willows is lovely colour, yeah.
So this is a glaze we made up the other day, Nuka, and we just fired this one. So we'll just show you what we've got. So this is a wood ash glaze, Nuka glaze, and that is the result.
Fired in an electric kiln, I might add as well.
That's right, and so that Nuka glaze there is beautiful, and you can see the ash that's coming through. So that's just ash off the barbecue. So save your barbecue ash, and just use a pestle, a mortar and pestle, to crush it down a little bit, and pop it in. One thing I would add is that you don't want to be
Green Coffee Thumb says, ooh, I like that.
yes. One thing is just watch out. It's a little bit caustic if you don't wash the ash. So just make sure your hands are not in that ash glaze. Otherwise, you're going to get reactions to your fingers and so on. But yeah, so that's that one. That's it on brown on the buff. So we've got more
Brown.
We've got more little.
Hi to just
It's
pottering
coming through.
along. Thanks for joining us.
So
Aiden's
you
about
ready
to do a
now?
wheel
Yeah, ready to
throw
go.
next.
Yep. So we're going to move the cameras over. So excuse us for a bit when we move the cameras over.
Yes, it's
And-
going to be real jumpy.
And
Yes.
then Aiden, you're going to do. What are you going to do?
I'm going to demonstrate just centering and then
Centering.
I'll throw a pot from there.
Well,
Oh, that's right.
that's good.
Here we go. Whee!
Get a small tour of our studio too. I don't know whether or not you can
We'll
squeeze
see if
through.
we can line it up.
Hopefully we don't don't lose any phones on the way through.
As you can see, we use rubber mats under our things because we can just
Better for your feet
take
as well.
these outside
How's that
and
with
wash
lining
them
up?
under a hose.
Yeah, I'll move them over a little bit.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. Hang on. I'll bring it a bit closer so that I can.
We use the rubber mats, one, like Mummy said, so we can clean them, and two, also so it's better, easier on your feet because it's all concrete on the ground.
Sounds that nice and centered.
That's nice and centered, yeah. Awesome.
So Aidan's going to do this. He's going to demonstrate centering. The most common question that we get asked all the time is centering.
Yes.
How do we centre? And a lot of people have problems with that, including myself, which is only learning. So Aidan is going to show that.
So Smurfhead said hi.
Smurf it.
Yes,
There you
Smurf
go.
it.
yes.
Thanks for joining us, Smurf it. Sounds like Smurf it. Today I'm basically using Keen's mid-fire, is this a warm? No, this is just a mid-fire 33.
Just pottering along said, I find centering next to impossible.
It can be when you first start, it seems like it's next to impossible, but it's not too bad once you get the technique right. So
And who was that?
Practice, practice, practice. That was just pottering along.
just pottering along.
I totally agree with you. Aidan's only just been teaching me the wheel, and it is something that you just lose control of very quickly.
That's right. Can we
1 minute
bring
at
that
centre.
further forward, just a little bit, the whole thing. Yeah, just so that. Oh,
Oi.
that's it, perfect.
I have to be
Green
careful. All
coffee
these.
thumb,
That's
it's
all
a
good.
nightmare.
It's a nightmare. Oh, well, good thing I'm going to show you today because
It's a nightmare. My goodness.
I'll first of all get the bag open first. This is a brand new bag. I thought I actually had a bit of clay left over, but I didn't. So we're starting a new bag
Oh, that's
today.
because I used it.
Oh, okay.
Oh no.
Oh no, I used it yesterday.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, there you
Yeah,
go.
that's those 2 pots there.
Case solved.
Yes,
Yes.
I used one of his
Daddy
bags
quite
a
regularly-
couple of days ago.
Quite regularly test his skills to get some
Practicing.
practice in.
So sometimes when you do get a new bag of clay, the clay can be quite hard, especially if there's like a small hole in it or something like that. This one here had a hole in it, this bag of white clay, and it was pretty firm when we got it. So what I did was basically grab one of your pottery tools, something that's fairly long, and push it into the clay through down into the bottom. And you can sometimes you can put 2 holes or 3 holes, whatever you need, and then just pour water down into the hole, and that will help rehydrate the clay. So that's a good way to get clay soft again, especially if it's dried out a little bit. And certain clay bodies are drier than others when they're manufactured. So I generally go for clays that are a bit softer. This is Keen's 33's a very nice soft clay to use. It's got a fair bit of strength to it.
Hasn't got any grog either.
It hasn't got any grog. So yeah, there's a lot of different clay bodies, but that's one technique you can use to sort of rehydrate your clay.
Christopher Hearn said, give tips for centering, please.
Yes, we certainly will. That's the whole premise of today's live, well, one half of it anyway, is to show you guys how to centre. So we first of all just cut off.
Green Coffee said a good tip.
Thank
Whatever you were just explaining
Green-
about the water.
Green coffee.
Yeah, Green Coffee Thumb said
Green coffee.
that was a good tip.
Thank you. All right, so that's that little bit of. I might actually go a bit more.
Theo Indian McCurry just joined, and our name's McCurry. How close is that?
McCurry.
Yes.
All right.
Always good tip to keep all your tools clean. So when you go to
Said thank you.
pick them up, they're not full of mess.
So generally, I wedge the clay on a bit of cement sheeting, which I'll do now actually because I don't generally do it on the bats because it takes off this white surface
And we'll twist you. We'll twist you that direction.
Actually,
So
yes, that will work better.
yep, I will.
The top one.
Top one.
Yep.
This one.
Yep.
There we go. There we go. Everyone can have a good look.
We're just doing this on the run.
Yes, this was sort of a last night thing, really, wasn't it? We said, you know what, we're gonna do a live.
Hi, Julie Irvin and Painter Deepa. Thanks for joining us.
So you can cut after you. This is a perfect example, actually. The reason why you wedge is because you can get over here now. You can get an air bubble in it. So I've just cut that clay mound that I've been wedging in half just to show you.
Painter Deepa said hi.
Hello, thanks for joining. So that clay bubble actually runs right through that whole back section there. So you got to, I generally sort of wedge the clay, slam it back together, and then wedge it again, and just make sure that there's no air bubbles in it. And you can check by just simply cutting through it and have a look. No, that was slamming the clay together. Yeah. No? Yeah, it does that. It's amazing. Yeah, the air or something like that does it.
Well, it's all over this camera here.
Is it?
Yeah, it's splattered all over here. Like, oh, there's been a murder scene on this camera.
Oh, yeah, little bits of clay.
Little bits. It's like it's just all over it. We'll spin you all back around so you can see what he's doing.
Well, that's a big lot of clay, eh?
It is. So this feels like, I reckon it'd be probably 2.5 kilos. Maybe two. Maybe two.
How much did you say?
2, I reckon.
2.
I could be way off.
Oh, yeah. No, you can't say that now. You got to stick with what you were. Hang on.
You're committed.
You committed.
You're committed now.
Oh, 2.2, so that wasn't too far off.
What did you say?
2.
Well,
I
that's
said 2.5 and then it went down to 2, but it's actually
So
2.2.
it's almost in the middle, so we'll say that's pretty much bang on. It wasn't 2.5, it wasn't 2, it was in the middle.
Make sure you slam your clay into sort of like a nice ball.
And you must slam it into the middle of the wheel from a very great height. Otherwise, it's not wheel throwing.
That's right. So you want to get yourself a nice round surface when you are throwing it onto the wheel head. You don't want a flat, you don't even want something that sort of dips in because you're just going to create an air bubble.
And then it'll be in the bottom of your.
That's right. You don't want to trap an air bubble underneath. Some people sort of get it into like a cone with a round base that's sort of got like a cone top, like an upside down cone. This is generally what I use, and I don't really find a problem with it, so that's what I do. So what we do is basically pop it down into the middle first.
And then just move it a bit then, did you?
And then what I'll do is I'll turn the wheel head on first. I'll just make sure it's relatively centre, which is good enough. The next thing I'll do
And if it's not
is
quite centre, what do you do if it's not quite centre?
just pull it off and pop it back down. Just try and get it as centre as you can.
Can you move it on the wheel when it's on it, or you have to lift it off?
No, just lift it off and just pop it back down as centre as you can. You want your clay to be centre at the start before you even start wheel throwing. If your piece is off to the side, you can bring it back into centre and centre it, but that's just too much extra work. If you start off centre, then basically you're cutting out a lot of work. Then I basically pinch the corner onto the bat.
And you do that to hold it onto the wheel head?
So what I do is I'll pinch it down onto the side of the bat so that we get a good bond where the bat and the clay transitions, where the transition is.
Hi,
And also,
Monica, thanks for joining us.
g'day Monica. And also when you begin throwing, you'll be pushing in from the sides. You're not forcing water underneath that small little section where it's sort of, you got like a gap underneath. So yeah, I've just found that especially if you put a lot of water on at the start, sometimes you can get the whole thing just move off centre. If you pinch it down at the start, basically it stays there rock solid.
Pant Deeper said good tips, thanks.
Who said that one?
Pant Deeper.
Pandeepa. Thanks, Pandeepa.
Yes. Thank you.
Hi,
Thank
Cerise
you.
by Alexis. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for
for
joining
watching
us,
it.
guys. So, I don't put the wheel on full speed, but I do it at a sort of relatively fast speed. You don't want to be. It depends on how sort of good you are at wheel throwing. You can
What are you
go
laughing
when you're first starting at a slow speed.
at? You seem delay.
Yeah,
My mummy's watching the iPads, which is like doing a whole round trip.
Couple of seconds delay.
Yeah.
There you go.
So yeah, basically I sort of start at a speed like that when I'm initially doing it, but when you starting out, you can do it a bit slower. But you want your coning, the initial part of your coning, to be relatively quick. If you spend too much time on it, the clay will become oversaturated with water, and you can start to get it do all sorts of crazy things. So you want to be as quick as you can in the centering part of it.
Sounds good to me. It's amazing how he uses that wheel to perfection. The other day when I had a pot that was a little bit wide at the bottom, and I was scared it was going to collapse, so I was trying to finesse the actual pedal, and it spun really quick, and that's the worst thing, you know, because your pot's going to want to move out
I've done that before.
and collapse.
That's not. It's an easy thing to do.
So here we go.
Here we go.
Centering.
So I've got two sponges that I use. This one's a coarse blue mud sponge from memory.
Blue?
Blue? It's white.
Yes. It's
Is
got,
it all blue
yeah,
today?
it's got no. It's how much I use.
Oh, really?
It's got no colour left in it.
Oh, wow, I thought that was just...
No, so
Paddy.
this one's a blue mud sponge that I use. This is the coarsest one they have.
Oh, maybe they should send you some new
But it
ones.
holds the most water, so that's why I use
They've
it.
been cheating.
So also everybody, work health and safety, you should actually wear enclosed shoes when you're working in a pottery studio, but
Yes, but it's 38 degrees today in the studio, so I'm wearing thongs.
Oh, a bit more than that here. It's
but
38
it's been like
outside.
that for 3 days.
Yeah, this is
so
the third day of above 35 degrees, so
So we had 38, 39, and today's what, 37.
yeah,
37,
something
yeah.
like that. So that explains why we're in thongs.
That's Melbourne weather for you.
The Aussie footwear, Aussie work boot, as they
Yes,
call
Aussie
it.
work boots, that's the one.
And
This
Deepa sent a
one's
smile.
this one's a white mud sponge, which has gone orange because of just discoloured from the clay. But this one's
Found it.
this one's their softest one.
Oh, that's,
Oh, yeah.
that's the blue new one.
That's the new blue one.
Even
So
that's a little bit stained.
Is that yours, is it?
That's
Yeah.
what it used
You
to
haven't
look
even
like.
used yours.
I have.
Well, there we go, it's
I
in
can
the
stay
water.
there now.
No, you're not taking that. That's my sponge.
Well, if you don't use it, why you got
I
it?
do use it.
Oh,
So there you go.
So that one's the white one. So I use a white
Keep
mud
your-
sponge and a blue mud sponge. The blue one does the majority of the heavy lifting when I am pulling the walls up.
Don't let anyone take your tools. You won't get these back.
We don't fight over tools
If
here.
you let them use your sponges, they'll be gone. You won't get them back.
I always put them back.
And just 2 buckets of water. So I generally, just to make it a bit more efficient, I can put both hands in and start centering. All right, so let's begin.
Am I crowding you here?
No, you're right.
Yeah, well,
What about
am
like
I
that?
crowding you? We're
Yeah.
crowding. We just stand here.
But we
That's
put a
right.
hand on it too?
Yeah, you can if you want. Go on, put your hands up. Chance, go on. Go on. He doesn't like slop, so.
Oh! I can't do that.
All right, so first thing we're going to do is basically make sure your hands are wet and start the wheel.
This is much more fun than making glazes, even though I do have fun making glazes. But
It's not as precise.
no,
Not as technical.
This is more interesting, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
this
as you-
is technical.
We've got to make glazes too.
Yeah, you can't have one without the other. You can't make it all and then just be like, that's
What
it.
do I do now?
Yeah.
Commercial glazes, I suppose.
Joining us.
Yeah, commercial,
Fantastic.
right? If you want to do that. You
So
just-
as you can see, there's a slight little sort of wobble on this clay when it is spinning round. So basically,
I'll just say one more thing about the glazes. It might be a little bit mundane measuring it out, but I tell you, when you find a glaze that you really like that you can't find anywhere else, there's not really much that can compare to having
No,
something
no.
that unique.
Beautiful to touch too.
Yeah.
And
So
you-
I mean,
you know,
there is something to be said about making it yourself.
the
Hey,
durability.
Freedom said hi to everybody.
hello.
The feel of a glaze, you know.
Yeah.
It's just beautiful. There's some just beautiful beautiful just feel of the glaze you make yourself.
So the glazes are definitely, you don't get the joy straight away, but you might get it afterwards, whereas there's more joy in this, and then you've got to put it in the firing and be like, I hope it survives.
It will.
And everybody, here in Melbourne's a public holiday today.
That's
That's
right.
why we're doing a
That's why we decided to do a live.
We're not wagging work, you know.
Wagon work.
Wagging work.
Oh my goodness, wagon work.
So I'm going to go slow for this first bit, just so that you can get an idea of how I do it. So,
Alright with the wind that way?
yeah, that's fine, yep.
Oh, that's better.
So basically what I'm going to do is, this is the main
Can,
hand
can I
that's...
just butt in one more
Yep.
time? You notice the haircut? Just had that about 5 minutes ago. The maestro.
The maestro.
The maestro. The Zoran.
Zohan. Yes,
The
if
Zohan.
anyone's never seen the Zohan
The
movie,
Zohan.
you've got to see the
It's
Zohan
beautiful. I
movie.
make you silky smooth.
Silky
That's
smooth,
what he said.
that's
I
it.
make you silky smooth.
We're never going to get to the wheel throwing part, are we?
No, and I keep losing what I'm going to say. Yes, so this is my left hand, and I basically keep that on the outside of the pot pretty much
Just
the whole
wondering
time.
along said, will this be available later? I missed the glaze section.
Yes,
Yes.
we'll be putting a recap up of...
On
of
Instagram, if you're on
of in-
Tik.
And
in-
I set myself up to actually do a glazed dip too after this. So
Yeah.
that'll
Yeah.
only take about 2 minutes, 3 minutes.
You'll go watch it on Instagram because TikTok only allows
segments.
segments. So you can watch the full recap on Instagram or YouTube.
Yep.
Oh, here we go. Here's centering.
Here's centering. So keep your outside hand pretty much on rest. Put your forearm basically resting it on the side of the wheel head.
So your non-dominant hand.
Oh,
No,
don't confuse
no,
people.
don't confuse people. No.
Okay,
so
alright.
I'll explain how
Some
I do
people-
it,
yeah, that's
and
He's
and how I
right-handed
can do
though.
it. Yes, I'm right-handed, and I do it a little bit differently than other people, but I'll explain how I do it anyway. So the outside hand rests on the outside of the wheel head. Sometimes, if you've got a really big bit of clay, you can actually sort of dig your elbow into your stomach, basically. But I generally just rest it on the side of my hip and keep the forearm rested on the side of the wheel head. And that hand basically stays there on the outside, and this one pushes up against it. So this hand will basically be the one pushing the clay into this other hand, and doing all the work, also pushing down the clay, but you'll see that anyway when I begin. So first thing is just add a little bit of speed to your wheel, because you can sort of manage your strength in short little bursts a lot easier than trying to maintain it over a very... So if I go real slow and I try and sort of centre it, you can tire yourself out too quickly before you actually get it centre. So I speed the wheel up a little bit so that I can do it in a quick little burst and get it centre.
And that
Why
also
do they-
keeps your clay wet
Yes.
rather than drying it out, doing it the slow way.
Yes, you can do it the slow way, but I generally find with a bit of speed helps it. That's how I
It's
like doing
important
it.
to keep your clay wet.
Yes.
So that you're not dragging the clay and taking it off centre as soon as you centre it. Is that right?
Yeah, that's perfect, Jeb.
Oh, I'm a really good student.
So,
Hi Mansfield Pottery Festival, thanks for joining us.
Oh,
G'day,
Mansfield.
Mansfield.
Oh, there you
Pottery
go.
Festival.
Around the
Wow.
corner from us.
Yes.
So keep your hand, outside hand, basically onto the side of the wheel head here, and start to create a sturdy point. So you could almost, if you wanted to, just centre it just using this hand. So start pushing with your outside hand, bring your other hand in, and push the clay into a coning position. Now initially, it's still going to be a little bit wobbly, but you can see that I'm pushing the clay into this hand. This hand hasn't moved the whole time, but this hand has forced the clay to come up. Now it does create a very wobbly top, which can be a bit sort of like weird. But what I do is put my hand back there and just push down the top with my hand.
Hi JMGP Pottery, thanks for joining
Now, as you
Oh,
can
that looks
see,
a lot better.
it's already starting to centre and get into where we want it, but we want to cone it up so that we can bring the clay. The outside of the clay is starting to centre, but the inside's going to be sort of a bit twisted because it's been forced into its centre point. So basically when you cone it up, you're bringing the inside clay to the outside because all the outside clay is up in the air and gives you a more even centre, or even clay doesn't have a twist in it or kink
Hi,
or
Albert
whatever it
Ceramics.
is.
Thanks for joining us.
Now, I generally speed the wheel up a little bit and I'll start pushing with both hands, anchoring both arms on the side of the wheel head and pushing with both hands in, which I'll do now. And you want to just push in. Don't have to pull, you're not literally pulling the clay off the wheel head, you're only just squeezing it.
You can see it's actually getting a better centre at the bottom there.
Yes.
Already.
It's already starting to centre and you get this sort of mushroom effect at the top. So when you do push in, you then keep that same diameter and you just move your hands up, which will inherently put like this, you could say like a
Volcano.
valley. Yeah, like a volcano.
Volcano.
To get
Deeper said such good explanations throughout. Thank you.
Oh, no
Oh,
worries.
thank you.
Glad you're enjoying it.
What's
Do
those?
you grab your hands?
Not yet.
And
That's
Sandy's
when you're
Handheld
pushing in, do you,
Ceramics
like,
has
hold-
just joined
Yeah.
us.
You
That's
can.
what Simon
Thanks
Leach
for joining
says it
us.
is as a volcano. He always calls it a volcano.
Well, it's a perfect example actually. It's a
Yeah.
volcano. When I am pushing in with both hands, I keep my fingers close together or locked. Generally, anything to do with centering or wheel throwing, if you can keep your hands locked in certain positions, you're actually a stronger thrower. If your hands are moving independently, that's when it's a lot harder to keep things center. So to get rid of this volcano, basically put the hand on the side and just push the clay down, making sure to not cover in the hole, but push the clay walls back into the mound of clay. And then you can squeeze it again and create a round top. You want that arc on the top of your mound so that when you are coming up, you don't continuously get a volcano top on it. So then we just bring it up again,
Up we come.
anchoring both forearms into the wheel head. Now you can see there's like a bit of a spiral here. That's because the clay is grabbing a little bit, so you can add a little bit more water. But it's also because of when you're initially centering the clay, it has to conform to the center point, so it twists. It does this weird thing that you've got to sort of.
Thank you for all the love hearts, whoever's sending them.
Thank
Yes,
you.
Thank you.
So I might go up one more time. Now you also feel when there's like little air bubbles as well. I can actually feel there's an air bubble on the side of this. There we
Oh,
go,
yeah?
it just popped.
Wow.
And so how do you
I
get rid of
couldn't
the air
even see it.
bubbles?
So you'll feel an air bubble on the side of the, you'll feel like a bump, like there's like a little rock or something like that underneath the clay. Sometimes it's too deep and you have to cone it a few times to bring it to the surface. But basically you just stick your thumb in.
Yep.
Just stick your thumb into the side until eventually the air bubble comes to the surface.
And
Don't be scared of a clay either.
No,
That's
no.
important.
And this is why you wedge it, isn't it? To help get rid of as many of those
Yes.
as possible.
Yeah, and this is why you also cone it, so you can get rid of the air bubbles as well. So what we're going to do now is basically put our main hand on the side of the mound of clay. You can almost push it over, as you can see. So you're going to be putting a fair bit of pressure on it.
Oh, it just went straight back to centre when you pushed that.
Yeah, because it's got its center point.
That's pretty
Hello
neat.
to Milo's Pottery that's just joined us. Thank
G'day,
you.
Milo. Milo.
And my top hand's basically going to push down the clay from the top, and I'm going to wrap my fingers around so that you create like a
90 degree?
Yeah, like a 90 degree, and the clay can't just ooze out the sides.
That's what happens to me all the time.
So
I'm so awkward in actually doing that.
you're going to push the clay down, which is going to push the clay out to the side, and this main hand is going to stop it from moving. You can also put your other hand over the top just to give a bit more support. Keep your hands locked together. So then we're going to push down. Now this is when you're going to start locking that outside arm back onto the side of the wheel head, because this is the main centering part, and this is when the clay is going to fight with you the most. There we go. Now I'm going to do it one more time, but just a bit quicker because the clay is getting a bit wet because I'm spending so much time on it. But
Why is it you don't want to make it too wet?
because when you're throwing the pot, your walls will be all over the joint because there's too much water in the clay.
Absolutely. And then collapso.
So I'm going to show you how I do it and the speed that I do it. This is basically how fast you can do it, and it saves the clay getting too wet. So we bring in the walls.
Bye, Lynn, and
Get rid of that.
Dearborn, thanks for joining us.
Get rid of-
Stacey Pepper.
Get rid of that volcano. And we'll go up a bit more. Go up again. As you can see, my left hand or my outside hand barely leaves this side of the wheel head, so I'm constantly keeping it secure there. And my right hand, this hand here, does a lot of the majority of the work. So basically, that's coning. That's about as high as I want to do it without it getting too wobbly. We'll then bring it down. Now my outside hand's off the wheel head, but as soon as I can get it resting there, that's when I'll place it back down. Use both fingers to push in the clay into the inside of my hand. And we got a centered piece of clay.
There you go.
So now we've got it centered. I'm going to put my finger in and start forming the walls and the base. Depending on how big you want your pot, if you want it sort of up here, you'll just put one finger in and pull up the walls. If you want a bowl, then you're going to create a bigger base. There's multiple different ways, but for this one I'm just going to use 2 fingers, 3 actually.
You just go straight down the centre.
Straight down the centre using your sort of strong, that's your index, isn't it?
Yeah.
Index finger. Put that in. Now with experience, I already know how far to put my fingers in, but if you're not too sure how thick your base is, what you want to do is grab yourself a potter's needle, which is something like that. Put your thumb on the potter's needle, place it down until it hits the bat and pull it out, and you can see that that's the thickness of the base.
Nice.
So I just wanted a bit thinner than that, so I'm going to just pop it down a little bit further. Now I continuously keep this hand locked into the wheel head, because if the wall is just a little bit off center, I can push the wall from the inside using this hand up against my other hand and help center it a bit more, which is what I'm doing. Now I'm going to leave the base on this a little bit thicker than I usually would, because I'm going to put a fairly large foot ring in. But what you want to do is create a 90-degree angle in the base of the pot to the wall. So you want sort of to look like that on the inside. Now this is why there's no colour left in this sponge, is because this is the main sponge that I use for throwing the walls up.
For people that have just joined, it is a blue sponge.
Yes, it's a blue mud sponge.
Yes, you did show it earlier. It starts off its life very blue.
Now, I don't generally have the sponge completely saturated with water. I only just have like half of it, dip it into the water so that it's only just not too much water on the clay.
Ooh, I actually usually dip it in the water and it's dripping everywhere.
Full dunk.
So what we're going to do is, you can use your fingers, but what I do is I use a sponge to spread the surface area on the side of the wall. That allows you to move more clay quicker and more efficiently than just using your finger. You can use your knuckles to spread the surface area when you're pulling up the wall, but I find the sponge is the quickest and easiest way. That's why it's called a throwing sponge.
That's right.
So we're going to push in with 3 fingers on the base of the pot, and we're going to begin creating a ridge underneath the clay. Make sure we don't run out of water. We're then going to push that ridge up and meet it with our inside hand, and we'll start squeezing with both hands in.
You have to put your head back a bit.
Yeah, I'm in the way. Well, see, I'm learning too. This is very intriguing. The worst thing about learning to throw is the centering, keeping it centered.
Now, if it has got a little bit of a wobble to it, you can just squeeze it with both hands just to help center it a little bit. So that's another little trick you can do as well.
Hi Sergio, thanks for joining us.
Is centering, keeping it centered, and then starting to move for play and keeping it all, you know, beautiful. And so that is the hardest part.
All right, so then we can do one more pull.
I think a lot of people can centre, but then the centering, it's very easy to throw it out from dry hands, you know, the wrong technique or whatever.
Bye Becca, thanks for joining us.
So there you go. So you're pulling the wall up now.
Yep. Now when I get up to the top, that's when I'm going to really ease off the pressure with both hands.
That's a beautiful cylinder.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. Good straight edge on that.
When you're getting up to the top, that's the wettest part of the whole wall, and it's also the easiest just to simply push too hard and just ruin it. So you want to be putting all your effort into the base, squeezing real hard, and then when you get up to the top, just easing off with your hands. We'll go one more, I reckon, because there's still a bit of thickness in that base. So this is where I'm going to use my knuckle on the inside, just to give a bit more support, and I'm going to do one last squeeze, pushing from the inside as well. And then from about here, when the wall starts thinning off, is when I'll ease off and just bring it up. Continue in a nice fluid motion. Don't worry if it's starting to wobble a bit on the top. As long as your hands are sturdy and you're bringing it up in a nice fluid motion, it should correct itself. As you can see, we've got a fairly good cylinder here. Awesome. You can just use a rib, a metal rib or a rubber rib, whichever one you've got. There is a...
And so what are you going to use a rib for?
There's this rib as well. These are really good when you're first starting out. This is probably the best rib you can get. If you want to get only one, if you don't have a rib and you want to get one, just get this one first, because this is the Red Mud Tools. This is the best one. What we're going to do with a rib is basically help straighten the wall up, and also
Hey,
help...
Sashri.
Hey, Sashri.
Hey, Sashri.
Also help...
Shanvi there is it?
Shanvi.
Shanvi?
Shanvi, yeah.
Hello, Shanvi.
Also help with even out the thickness as well, because you've got a nice sort of solid thing to push up against. You can feel with your fingers where the thicker parts are and where the thinner ones are. So we'll push that on the side.
Sashi said, so good to see you. Shanvi's at school.
Shanvi's at school.
Oh, that's right, because, yes.
They're not in Victoria.
We're in Victoria. So it's Labor Day in Victoria today. That's why it's a holiday.
Yeah, it's a public holiday in Victoria, so we're loving it.
Now this is why I was talking about you want to do your coning as quickly as you can. The wall at the moment's pretty damp, which is why it's got a little bit of a wobble to it.
Just pottering along said, great demo. I will catch a replay later. Off to work now.
Oh, well, enjoy work.
Enjoy work, and thanks for tagging along.
That's right. Thanks for coming along.
And Pam Deepa said, really enjoyed the demo. You gave such great explanations. Many thanks from India.
Oh,
Wow,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank
Must be
you.
pretty late in India.
They're 10 hours behind or something?
I'm
No,
sure.
not quite. 6 or 7. So it must be early in the morning.
Sashri said, she'll be happy. I will let her know when she gets back from school.
Oh,
great.
there you go.
Now just to stop the pot from dancing,
Sashri said, I'm from India as well.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
to stop the pot from dancing, I'm going to push in with both hands just to help center it up. You want to be real careful not to use too much water at this stage, because if you've got the bottom of the pot moving one direction and you've got the top moving the other, it's generally getting a bit wet and it's starting to move around a little bit. So you want to center it with both hands, not using too much water, and just being careful not to push the clay too much.
I discovered that yesterday, where the pot went out of control.
And you can see I'll use my thumbs. I'll push in from the side and use my thumbs to help center the top part while my palms are centering the bottom part. Okay, that's pretty much it. I'll do one more take with the rib, and then that should be good.
But that's a nice little utensil little cylinder, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it's very nice. Puts
So,
your
I mean,
kitchen utensils.
there's a lot of videos out there, and they reckon that if you learn to build cylinders first,
Yes.
then the rest will come.
Yes.
So your cylinders is what you should be concentrating on.
And make as many as you can. too.
Yeah, your cylinder is pretty much where all of your designs come from, which I'll actually show you because why not? I'm going to use a potter's needle just to straighten the top off. So this is where I'll slow the wheel down and just cut the top off
Hi,
with a ring.
Larisa, thanks for joining us.
Hi, LaRosa.
Placing the needle into the side, keeping it from moving up and down so you get a nice flat top.
Sade said, best recommendations for a throwing sponge. Love your guys' videos.
Mud Tools Blue Throwing Sponge. That's the best one. Sorry,
No, that's all right.
That's that one there. It's
So
not.
Mud Tools have got quite a few. They've got
Yes.
sponges and also kidneys, haven't they?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that red kidney's a mud tool one, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a Mud Tool Red Kidney. That's the best one you can get. So when you're
thanks,
first
Sadie.
starting out, grab one of these and grab a blue sponge.
Mud tools, they're great. They really, they're not like regular sponges, are they?
No.
Hank Deeper said, please do some online workshops too.
Yes, that we
Yes.
can.
That's
Nah,
mud
We
tools.
do do a lot of online videos that you
Oh,
can
it is mud
watch.
tools.
Yes.
That's mud tools.
Yeah, so that's another mud tool that you can use. That's a big. That's for plates, isn't it? You can use
Yeah,
that for
plates, big platters, bowls, that type of thing.
Yeah, so they've got a wide range of different things, but
Aiden doesn't use that one yet.
I have actually.
Oh, you have?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
so
there
you
go.
got that at the expo last week, didn't you?
Yeah, the week before. Yeah.
That was off Norfolk Pottery, wasn't it?
Yes.
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 They got
That was the Warrandyte Pottery Expo here in Melbourne.
That's right.
They have every year.
So Ali,
Ellie, yes.
yeah, Ali was there, looks after.
Hank Deeper
The
said,
stall.
we'll check
Looks
out our
after- looks
videos
after the stall.
online.
And who else was it?
So, your cylinder is your most important part when you are learning to wheel throw. If you can pretty much throw a cylinder, you can then throw anything because a lot of your shapes come from this cylinder shape. So, this, which I'll show now, is just a cylinder. And what I'll do now, so you can just cut this off and just have it as a brush pot or a utensil pot and just decorate it on the outside or put some carving on the outside. But what I'm going to do is turn it into a different vase just to show you that from this shape you can pretty much do whatever you want to do. Make sure I line up the lugs again.
And so what are you going to do now?
I'll just go with the flow and see what I get out of it.
Are
But
you're going to put a bit of a bulbous in it, or you?
yeah, so first thing you can do is, what I'll do is I'll start bringing in the actual vase and make it narrower, just so that I can get the top where I want it. So I'll speed up the wheel a little bit and just squeeze in with my hand.
So, Pant, if you just follow us online, you'll be able to see all our videos that we have.
Yeah.
That's right. Now you can
That's
alter.
a nice vase.
Yes, you can even just do like a conical shape. Now you can alter the base of your vase by just pushing in from the side. So you've created that 90-degree base on the inside. If you just simply push in from the outside, that base is going to squeeze in with it as well. So you can create a completely different vase even from a cylinder shape.
And you
It's
can have
not the
it-
most perfect way to do it, but it is a way you can do it.
And you can get a smaller base with a
Yeah,
wider
which
top.
I'll do now actually. So I'll squeeze in the base and create a little bit of a round shape. Like that. And you can see we've just got a little bit of a round shape. I might just do a bit more. sure to keep the pot centre so it doesn't start wobbling all over the joint. And then we can start creating a bulbous part of it. So I'm going to grab my white sponge because it is the one that has the least resistance. And I'm just basically going to wet the inside of the wall. And don't be afraid just to put your hand straight in the pot as well. Don't be afraid of deforming it. I'm now going to push from the inside and create the belly of the vase, but only where I want it to be a belly. I'm going to use this hand to keep the top part of it, or the neck, as small as I possibly can. Like that. Then
That's
you're going to close in the neck. And this is where the red ribs come in really good handy, because this is where you can really start smoothing off the shape of it as well.
Oh wow, it's certainly smoothed it, eh?
Yeah.
Sammy's Hand-Built Ceramics said, thanks for the demo, guys. Have to head back to work now. Have a great day.
Oh,
you-
well, thank you.
Enjoy
Thanks,
work.
Sammy.
That's Sammy, is it?
Sammy's Hand-Built Ceramics.
Sammy's Hand-Built Ceramics.
My
You have a-
guy, I do all their hand building too.
You have a good day, and thank you for joining us today.
Yes, thank you.
So I'm going to push in a little bit more. I want a bit more shape in the neck, and I want it to be a bit narrower. So I'm going to start pushing it in just with my fingers. Be real gentle. The clay is getting really saturated at this point now, so there's no point trying to force it to do anything.
Hi Maureen, thanks for joining us.
Now this one, because it's bendy, I can actually bend it this way and start creating a neck. Now I want to cut that top off again because it's all wobbly and all over the joint. So I'll slow down the wheel and just chop it off.
Done that a few times.
Just a few.
There we go, perfect top.
Oh, straight on the floor.
That wasn't perfect though.
Now I do also have this little bit of chamois. You can use a bit of leather or a bit of plastic, works the same thing. And basically after you've cut the top off, you can then shape the lip just using that little bit of chamois on the top like that, just to smooth it off.
So it's got to be flexible, in other words.
It's got to be flexible and allow no friction. I'll also, using the same thing, create the actual top part of it. Like that.
At the pottery said, can we see which tool you used to chop that top? Was it a needle too?
Yes, that was just the potter's needle I used.
Okay, so that's the potter's needle. We can see that.
Hi to Galaska Works, thanks for joining us.
So that's, just use that little bit of chamois just to smooth off the top and flare out the lip of it, but also put it on the inside to create a bit of a ridge for the glaze to interact with.
Hi BJ Handmade in Brazil, thanks for joining us. Galaska Works said
Just like that.
hi.
So that's BJ from Brazil.
Yes.
And Alaska, is it?
Atha.
Alpha.
Galaska Works.
Oh, Galaska. Galaska.
Galaska Works. Oh, yeah.
Alaska Works.
Said
Oh, yes.
thank you.
And Alpha Pottery.
Now this is a very good tool. This is
So-
basically a sponge on an extendable stick.
So Galaska ZK,
GALUS.
is that from South Africa?
Possibly.
Possibly. Are you from South Africa?
Um,
Where are we from today anyway? Some people like to comment where they're from. We're part of the world. I won't interrupt again, Aidan.
That's
Sorry.
all right. This is a sponge on an extendable stick, and this is so that you can get the water out from the inside, because because we've done all this playing around and throwing, we've actually got a fair bit of water sitting.
Alaska Works is from New York City.
New
Oh,
York
wow.
City.
Oh,
there you go.
well, miles off.
Just a wee bit.
Hi to Carolyn. Thanks for joining us, and Camille.
Camille.
Omay Bar is from Arizona.
Oh,
wow.
there you go. Arizona. Welcome.
Hello from Australia.
Yes. Hello.
That's in their, they're going into their fall now, into autumn.
Yes.
Well,
No, spring.
We've got an
We're in
Arizona.
And
autumn.
who was saying that we couldn't get our seasons right last night?
That's right.
This is a great tool. Definitely buy yourself one of this. You do not want to leave water in the bottom of your pot because it'll just basically saturate it and rot it from the inside out.
Well,
So
we've got Arizona weather.
Is that what
here
causes
today.
S cracks as well?
yes, don't leave water in the base of your pot when you're drying it. Try and get the water out from the inside before you close it up if you don't have a sponge on a stick.
So you want to make sure that you're actually compressing your clay at the bottom,
Yes.
and also so that stops S cracks. Is that right?
Yeah, compressing the clay
And also get the water out.
and also get the water out.
Don't let the water in too long.
So, Camille said hello. and
Hello,
Pam-
Camille.
Pam said, Camilla. Pam said, one fantastic teacher. Many thanks for simplifying the potter's wheel. Gratitude.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Pandeepa. Pandeepa from India.
Yes.
Yes.
Deeper.
That's right.
Thank you. Now, last tool that I'm going to use is a trimming tool. This is generally what it looks like when you get it from the store. Now, I've got two versions of this. I've smoothed off one so that it's got a round nose to it, and one's got a sharp nose. So the round nose one is what I'm going to do a majority of the work with to remove the large amount of clay, excess clay that's on the outside. And then to do the finishing touches, I'll use the sharp nose. And this saves you from ruining your bats. If you constantly use the sharp nose turning tool, you'll dig into your bat and just ruin it. Where this one makes your bats last a lot longer because it doesn't dig in like a knife.
And also,
Good tip.
you can make these out of a bit of metal if you really want it
Yes,
as well.
Yeah.
just even a straight bit of metal you can
Bend
just-
it.
if you're handy on a grinding wheel.
Yes. Yeah, that's right.
We've seen it on YouTube, you know. So
Yeah.
that's gospel, you know.
Wait, it's gospel. It's on YouTube.
Well, that's how I smoothed this off. Actually, was just on a grinding wheel. So a grinding wheel's another good tool you can have to make tools for wheel throwing. So what I'm going
Be
to do?
careful when you do that, though.
Yes, wear your safety glasses and all your gizmo, and
Yes.
don't put your long hair up in a knot if you're around that type of thing.
In a hairnet.
Your hairnet. Now, I'm going to remove a majority of the clay on the outside first with this round nose turning tool, and then come into the side.
Wow, that's certainly taking it off, isn't it?
And you just remove it with your thumb just so you keep the tool clean. Don't allow it to gather up too much, otherwise it will stop carving and it will sort of start bringing the pot off centre.
So repeat that again, what'd you say?
Clean your tool off.
Oh, yeah.
Don't allow it to gather up when you are turning,
Yep.
otherwise it starts pushing that excess clay into the side of the pot and throwing it off centre, and it will start putting gouges and all sorts of stuff in it. So just keep your tool clean as you're turning it.
Good tip.
Now I've pretty much got the shape on the base where I want it. So this is where I'll start coming into with the sharp nose, just to get a 45-degree angle on the base, so that the glaze and the stop wax has somewhere to stop. It's sort of like something I do with the pots.
Yep,
45 degree on the
that works
base.
every time.
Now, you're going to have, because of the shape of the vase, you're going to have it a bit rough. Where your turning tool is, where your trimming tool is, because it's a straight warp thing and you've got a round pot, so it's going to be a bit rough. You can smooth it off with this flexible rib that I keep talking about, just so that you've got a nice, clean, round bottom. But if it's not perfect, it doesn't exactly matter. This is when the turning of the base or the trimming of the base comes into effect. So 48 hours from now, I'll put this upside down and turn a foot ring on it, and also just finesse the shape on the outside of the base.
Lovely.
Grab your sponge again, whichever one you've got. Clean off your bat so that you can touch it afterwards and it's not going to leave a mess all over your bench.
Yes. A very important thing. Tools, they got to be clean.
And you don't want to just be putting stuff all over your bench and just creating sort of like havoc.
Yes,
Dust.
because that'll dry and create dust, exactly.
Creating a nice clean environment is always the best way, especially with pottery.
You always have a big bucket next to you, don't you?
Yeah, I got a bucket sitting next to the wheel that's just got bleach and cleaning products in it, just so that it cleans your hands nice and quickly.
Right, so
Is
that's
that
done.
really?
Yep, I'll just
So
show
we've
the.
got a little
Is
bit of
that
time.
really
Like
Yes.
That hasn't got bleach in it, has it?
Yeah, just
Oh,
a little
really?
bit, just a little bit, so the water doesn't go off.
Ah,
Stops the water from going off too quickly. It's
well,
only
there you go.
like a teaspoon of bleach.
Well, there you go. So there's another tip right there in your.
So there's the shape of the vase. As you can see, that's where the turning tool sort of helped get that shape. The last step, this is something that I do with it still on the wheel, is grab your wire cutter. Now I speed the wheel up and slow it down as I'm pulling the wire through. I generally come in with the pot rotating fairly slowly. Once I go past the halfway mark, I'll speed it up just a little bit and pull the wire through swiftly. You can keep it on the same speed and just go straight through, but when you learn how to use your pedal really nicely, that's the cleanest way to get it.
And that's something I'm going to do.
Pan said fantastic bars, and Omar said beautiful. Thanks for sharing.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Wrap your wire around your finger and pull it taut with your index fingers or your pointer fingers. Yeah, pointer fingers.
Yeah.
Speed the wheel up. Bring it into the side
And presto.
and presto. Just pull it straight through.
And that almost no clay on that wire. It took so little off.
That's right. So,
And you do that why exactly now?
well, now it's going to dry 48 hours, and we've got the wire through so that in 48 hours I'm going to put a bag over it. I can pull it straight off the bat. I don't have to pull the wire through. When the clay dries out enough to be able to touch it and turn it, which is the lever hard stage, you don't want to be drawing this through because it's going to be a pain and it's going to be very difficult to pull it through.
So Anna said any tips for beginners, so we're going to repost this, aren't we? What can she watch it on?
Instagram.
Instagram.
Instagram or YouTube will have the full recap.
video. So
Yeah.
today's wheel throwing demonstration went from the full wedging process through to the centering process, through to making a cylinder and then shaping it into a vase. So that will be a recap video we'll post after the live video ends.
And,
We have a
Very
little,
good,
uh,
Aiden.
and we had some glazing as
started
well.
off with the
Hope you
glazing,
enjoyed.
And
Yep,
we're
so-
going to finish with the dipping up.
Yeah, we're going to finish with just mixing up a test batch and dipping a tile. So we'll go ahead and just do that now.
We'll move the cameras around. So you get
Anna
another.
said many thanks, and Anna put the thumbs up.
Oh.
She's going to watch it.
We're just gonna move you all around. You get a bit of another tour.
If everybody could see from the back here what's going on.
It's a bit of a dance. We've got 3 cameras sitting on one stand that we're moving around. There we go. And we'll put you down over here.
Okay,
There we
I think
go.
that's perfect again. So we're just going to dip this tile to finish off. So this is a glaze that's been slaking for 3 days. So one of our test runs.
Just give them time to soak in.
Given time to soak in so that all the water's been dispersed in amongst the clay particles and all the ingredients. So just give it a bit of a stir. You just with these little pots you can actually just do that and get things moving a bit.
So Galaska said, thanks for the demo. They'll have to catch up with us again soon.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, thanks for viewing.
Now another thing that I actually do also is to just give it a bit of a mix down the bottom. You can do that as well, just to loosen it up a bit. And then I just get the high-speed mix in. I chucked it in the water. So I put my little cloth over the top so it doesn't squirt out everywhere. And we just give that a mix for roughly about a minute. So you want to make sure that it's thoroughly mixed so you'll get deposit of glaze at the bottom and you know, all the materials. So sort of hard pan at the bottom. So you want to make sure it's thoroughly mixed. And there is a big difference between mixing it well and not mixing it that well. So roughly about a minute is what I do. I just make sure that it's completely and utterly mixed. Now this is a test I'm doing to find another black. And so the ingredients on this one is red iron oxide for the colorant, a bit of cobalt carbonate, and that gives you a black. So there's around about 7% red iron oxide and about 2% cobalt carbonate to get your black. So we're almost finished here.
Yes, it's not like our videos with the power of editing where you see a few seconds of mixing.
That's right.
Sergio said, thanks for sharing techniques and tools.
No problem.
No problem, Sergio.
Yeah?
So then what I normally do is just have a bit of a look to see if it's actually really mixed down the bottom. We haven't got any hard lumps at the bottom that haven't been mixed in. Give that a bit of another shake like that.
And having lumps in the bottom's no good.
Well, you want the glaze to be fully homogenised with all the ingredients. You don't want parts that are left at the bottom because you don't know what sort of parts they are.
Yeah, no, you won't get a proper test.
You won't get a proper test. You want to be making sure that it's thoroughly mixed. I go into a little cup like that, tip it in. This is to test the black. Now I've put on my test towel, if you can see that, in the pencils. So that's a glaze pencil, and I've put that down there. It's a black. It's test number 3, number 4, and 4-second dip, and that's important so that you know later on which tile that is.
And this is a 1,000-gram batch, wasn't it?
No, 100 gram batch.
100 gram
So then we
batch.
just go in for 4 seconds. So we'll go. You can just blow. If you got any little bubbles on the top, just break the surface tension there, get rid of those bubbles. So you can go in for 4 seconds. So 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, and we're out. And that's it.
And having a small cup like that means you can make a smaller batch of material and still be able to dip a full tile in. Isn't that right?
That's right. So that tile's now ready to go into the kiln. So we'll just tip our mixture back in, put the cap back on, and there you have a glaze test.
You don't put it straight in the kiln, no, do you?
Oh,
Usually
I mean,
wait.
no, usually the next day.
Next day.
Yeah, no, 10 hours or something like that later. But yeah, so that's basically it. There you go. So look, we hope you enjoyed today. It's been an interesting day, something different that we normally.
I'll unscrew it. So
That's all right. We can all stand here. Yep. So do you want to come around here and we'll say goodbye?
I don't know where Aiden's gone.
So we'll just swing around. You can see where Mummy was sitting there
I'm
with
sitting right here looking at all the,
all the iPads, reading out all the comments.
That's right.
on my potting table.
We'll just bring it up a bit. That's it. Yep,
Whoop.
that's perfect. About there. Yep. Alrighty.
And then we'll
So
get
anyway,
in.
thanks for joining us in the live today. It's something different. I hope you got some good tips out of the glaze making, glaze testing, and centering of the clay, putting it on the wheel, any little, troubleshooting that you might get some help from, whatever.
Yep.
But yeah, no, it's fantastic. Great to see you.
Thank
for
you,
joining us.
We'll see
everybody.
you next time.
Bye.
The recap
Bye.
video will be going up now.
Have a
Yes.
great. Oh yeah, so that's one other thing. So on TikTok, if you want to watch the full recap, go on to Instagram or Facebook. It'll have the full recap. And thanks, Dallas, for the rose.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
So-
Instagram and YouTube have the full recap.
Full
videos.
recap. So
Yeah.
there you go. You only can put 5 minutes on TikTok, which is a bit ridiculous. But anyway.
See you, everyone.
See you, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
See you next
Bye.
time.
Thanks for joining us. Thank you. Bye.